This evening, I have an incredible opportunity to talk with Shafia Monroe. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of her background because she has been a mover and shaker ever since I've known her and before I've known her. So let me just give you some of her background. And Shafia, first of all, thank you so much. And let me review your background. She is a renowned midwife, doula trainer, motivational speaker. She was called to midwifery as a teenager after learning about the high infant mortality rate in her own city. Though she was born in Boston, Massachusetts, Shafia recognizes her Alabama roots and practices traditional African American healing using the laying on of hands and herbs for pregnant and postpartum families. Shafia is the keeper of African American birth traditions and postpartum rituals. She has spent over 4 decades studying the life of the 20th century African American, what we know as granny midwives, and traveling internationally, interviewing and shadowing midwives to learn their cultural rituals firsthand. In 1991, this was the first of her many organizations. Shafia founded and directed the International Center for Traditional Childbearing, known as ICTC. It was the first international not-for-profit to increase Black midwives and doulas and to honor their contributions of improving maternal and infant health, and to also empower families to improve their birth outcomes. In 2016, Madame Noir noted her Queen Mother of a Midwife movement because of her 1970s pioneer work introducing midwifery and home birth services to her hometown. Her work in Boston is profiled in the book Granny Midwives and Black Women Writers, and also in Wings of Gauze, Women of Color in the Experience of Health and Illness. Under her leadership, ICTC increased the number of doulas of color, Black midwives, diversified the midwifery workforce, and challenged systemic racism within the profession. From 2002 to 2015, she directed the International Black Midwives and Healers Conference. She recruited Erykah Badu, the 4-time Grammy Award winner, singer, songwriter, and holistic healer. From 2010 to 2015, she served as the international spokesperson for the International Black Midwives and Healers Conference. She also led the Oregon Coalition to Improve Birth Outcomes in 2011, investigating the use of doulas to improve birth outcomes and creating the legislative concept OR-HB 3311. Her work, y'all need to get this, her work resulted in Medicaid reimbursement for Oregon doulas. And this is leading to that model. It was the first state in the United States that would actually reimburse doulas through Medicaid. And now other states are following suit. But it's because of Shafia's work in Oregon that this has happened. In 2002, Monroe developed the groundbreaking ICTC Full Circle Doula Birth Companion Training Curriculum and Program. And this is an international model for reducing infant mortality using the granny midwife model of holistic care, spirituality, traditional birth, and postpartum practices, and strengthening the community. SMC Full Circle Doula Birth Companion Training became the new name in 2017. Since 2002, Shafia has trained over 4,000 SMC Full Circle Doula Birth Companions. That's a lot. That is a lot of folk. In 2013, Shafia Monroe created the Shafia Monroe Consulting SMC/BirthingCHANGE to provide cultural competency training to healthcare providers and doulas who wanted to see racial justice in birth outcomes, increase patient satisfaction, and diversify their practice. Her work has been recognized through numerous awards, including 4 Lifetime Achievement Awards, being the Dr. Hildress A. Poindexter Lifetime Achievement Award of the Black Caucus of Health Workers, which is the oldest caucus of the American Public Health Association, the Midwives Alliance of North America Life Achievement Award, the Life Achievement Award for Maternal Child Health, and Lifetime Achievement Service Award for Community Health from We Are Health movement. Shafia is also featured on the mural Women Making History in Portland, Oregon. So when y'all go to Portland, y'all look for that mural now. In June of 2022, she was featured in Scientific American as one of 4 change makers who are bringing equity to healthcare. Ms. Monroe serves as an advisory member of the Oregon Health Authority Office of Equity and Inclusion's Cultural Competence Continuing Education Advisory Committee, the Oregon Community Doula Association, Black Mamas Matter Alliance, Black Mothers ACTT for Safe Care Initiative, and the National Black Midwives Alliance. Shafia is a wife, a mother of 7, a grandmother of many.
Yes.
She mentors hundreds of people to claim their power as healers, midwives, doulas, and leaders. In her spare time, when does she have spare time, y'all? I don't know when she has spare time. She enjoys cooking for family and friends, walking, gardening, studying herbal medicine, reading, writing, dancing, fishing, and horseback riding. And when she has spare time, she's using it up to write a postpartum recipe book. We need that. We talked about weight gain and pregnancy. And she has an IGTV series called #Black Midwife Cooking. Wow, Shafia, thank you. I just want to say thanks for joining us and being here. So thank you. And I just want to really just kind of open it up with just hearing a little bit more about what you're doing now and just kind of catching up.
Well, Carolyn, we've known each other for a while, meeting each other all the over the years at the American College of Nurse Midwives and different things. So it's really good to see what you're doing. It's so important. And what I'm doing now is, I would say with as you read my whatever you call that, resume, bio, my work. My work is my life. So what I was doing in 1991, 1970, I'm still doing it. I tell people that I feel blessed. I feel like when I read about the Black midwife, when I read about the gray midwife at the age of 16, I'm not going to date myself, you all, but y'all can do the math. But when I read about those Black women in the South, those gray midwives who were walking at night and during the day, going to all these births, bring what they could bring. They had little, the client had little, and just empowering them and loving them. It touched my heart at 16. And then I said, I wanted to be like them. And so ever since, that has been my journey to follow in their footsteps. It's their shoulders that I stand on. These are very giving women. They were pillars in their community. They didn't just do birth. They really uplifted the community. They taught the marriage counselors. They taught the teen boys and girls. They help the elders. We all see the picture of Maud Callan, the nurse midwife from Tuskegee. One of the pictures, she's rubbing an elder man's head. She turned the house into a clinic to give children vaccinations. So it's a wide range. And so I use that model for training doulas. People say, why? Well, doulas aren't midwives. No, midwives provide clinical care. They're responsible for the actual physical health of the mother and the baby. They've taken biology, physiology, anatomy, so much a very intense training. And they're the ones who can diagnose hypertension. They can diagnose gestational diabetes. They can diagnose that the baby might be feet first or lying sideways, breech or transverse. And that's why I highly promote the need for midwives in every single model across the world for us to try to stem the tide of these preventable deaths that all women are experiencing, but particularly Black women in America. But we use that holistic approach where the women, the granny midwives, they went to the home, they did that support, they did that love, they did that spiritual component, they empowered the family. So that's the part that I give our SMC full circle doulas. We call them full circle because they do the whole circle. They're not a labor doula, they're not a postpartum doula. They do it all because to have a baby, it's not segmented. It's a cycle. We call it the reproductive cycle. There's nowhere in that cycle that a pregnant woman is not needing a doula. So I train the doulas that if they're early pregnancy, late pregnancy, new mom, had a miscarriage, chose to terminate, they're trained to go support that person, that woman, with the basic humane care to help that person live. And one thing I do want to say that doulas do, they do help reduce maternal morbidity, not mortality. Mortality means death. Morbidity means illness. But when the doula goes into the home and she's trained appropriately and she asks the question, so Mary, how are you feeling? I'm feeling kind of weird. I'm feeling kind of dizzy. How'd you sleep? I didn't. How's your bleeding? Every time I stand up, blood runs out my leg. Well, you know what, Mary? We're going to call 911. We're not going to take any chances. So they can detect that kind of basic common sense, as opposed to a non-doula walk and say, oh, girl, the baby's so cute. Here's some diapers, I'll give you some tea. They don't know to ask those questions. How are you feeling? How's your bleeding going? Do you feel dizzy? And one thing they said, the graded midwives, to say, they would leave the house and they turn around, they say, are you seeing any stars? If you're seeing stars, that's really hypertension. You start seeing those bright lights. They would say, they would call it stars. So I teach the doulas, are you seeing bright lights? Are you seeing stars? If they are, that's the medical emergency. So I do believe the way that we train our doulas, that they're equipped to at least reduce morbidity by having the client call the health provider right away. And I think as Black women, the Black community, of all of our experiences of not liking institution because of all the things they've done wrong with us, or we think we don't need it, we don't be a bother, women are so polite, they will put off making that phone call. And having a qualified doula is going to say, you know what, you need to make the call. I'll sit here with you, and so they can make that call. And sometimes it's nothing, but we don't take any chances because too many of our women are dying because it really was something. So we rule on the side of caution. We train our doulas to make those phone calls. So just really quickly, a doula is a non-medical person. It's usually a weekend training of what is pregnancy, the signs of pregnancy, the normal discomforts of pregnancy, the stages of labor, the phases of labor, what is the afterbirth, newborn care, the benefits of breastfeeding, being a good listener, what's confidentiality, how to engage the partner, father, partner, the other children. So it's that basic platform. But I think what I hear in our community, what saddens me, I'll talk to a woman, I had 2 children. Did you have a doula? No. Why not? Because they said I was high risk. I hear that way too much. High risk is all the more reasons to have a doula. Exactly. They feel, I had scheduled cesarean section. You still need a doula. Doulas don't only do labor support. Yes. They're going to help you to say, take your medication, put that pill in front of your incision. Let me pick up that baby that's a wonderful 8 pounds, not too heavy, but let me help you out. Let me bring you the plate. Let me help you walk, put your slippers on as you walk to the bathroom. So the doula is not just for natural birth or home birth. Doulas are for any woman who's pregnant or new mom who needs a support. And just traditionally, we didn't need a doula because historically our families knew what to do.
Exactly.
Right. But you got to remember, if you know the history where they had the Shafia Act, when they finally made Black traditional midwives who had literally, it's documented. And I know, Carolyn, all the readings with Miss Linda Jana Holmes, her book, yes, and other many midwives have written about what the Black midwife did during that 19th, early 20th century. Everybody knew what to do. They knew to bring collard greens over. They would come wash the house. They would come wrap the mother's stomach. They would say, take it easy. You sleep, I'll hold the baby. But then we lost that information. We were pushed to hospital. We separated families. Mom's in Alabama, you're in New York because of school. You're by yourself. Husband's at work all day, or maybe you all broke up, whatever the case might be, or same gender partner broke up. And so now you're all by yourself, or you are with your mom, but she's second generation. She doesn't know what to do either. So I told you, I didn't breastfeed. I was put to sleep when I had my baby. I don't remember anything. So the grandma can't help the way we need it. So now we're using a professional doula. Another thing I tell people too, well, my mom's going to come. We definitely think your mother should be there. As a Black woman, as a mother, culture, the mother after God is the next thing in line. After God is your mom. The Black community. We are using a matriarchal system in our country for the Black community. So respect the mom, and we want to be there, but the mom cannot do what the doula can do. The doula knows the language. When you walk into that room and you're having your baby and husband or boyfriend, girlfriend's there, mom's there, family, and they're saying, well, we're having D cells right now, and the baby's at OP, and she's 2% centimeters and a station 1. Well, what does that mean? It means a lot of things that your mom's not going to know, but the doula cannot diagnose. She can say, hey, doctor or midwife, can you explain to the mom that, oh, the baby is this way, that way. So instead of cesarean section, we're going to say, well, can she stand up? Because sometimes all they just get out the bed and walk around a little bit, do some lunges, get on the birth ball, lean over the toilet, or get on the toilet. So these things that we know to do through training, evidence-based information, that's going to reduce the cesarean section. And let me just remind us that it's the cesarean section, the increase 1 in 3, that is contributing to the higher rate of mortality, of near misses. You almost died, or you live and you feel like you don't feel good for 2 years. And they're inducing you for reasons such as, again, we don't diagnose as doulas, but we do know from evidence there's a lot of induction going on that does need to happen. So I want to say, particularly for the Black community, we have a lot of fear around birth. We just have become lack of knowledge. So everyone's afraid of just being pregnant. We've seen so many bad things on YouTube, so many baby stories, so much media about dying. The George Floyd, all this horror that we should not experience. What the great midwife said, don't see horrible things. Don't be traumatized when you're pregnant. But yet, as Black women in America, we're being traumatized every day just by the news, because it's always bad. It's always about us. You may not realize, but it's affecting your oxytocin. So what you need to go into labor. So what the doula does, she can come to the house and give you massages, help your mate, know where to rub you correctly, create that good energy again to get rid of all that fear, and also give you evidence-based information that there's nothing to be afraid of. The baby's in the right position. This is what's going to happen to you. So it's just great. I love training the women. When I train the doulas, not only does it train the impact the client, but the doulas themselves, it changes us, because now we know about our bodies. We can tell our daughters, we can tell our nieces, our granddaughters, our goddaughters what we didn't know. Ask questions. As you said, get your 90 grams of protein every day. Go back to college with that black skillet. Things that we did you all back in the day, which others talk about, it worked. We know that black skillet increases your iron.
The iron content to cook in a black skillet. But if we're not cooking, we won't know about that, right?
Oh my God, cooking.
So many things you've said, Shafia, that I have been bringing up in each of my videos, talking about, really trying to help, first of all, women understanding why are we dying in the first place.
Right.
And as you mentioned, if we know our own bodies, if we know our own lab work, then we will know to be able to speak up. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, women are, I've heard this many times. I have, as a practicing midwife, you have as well. Women feel like, oh, I don't want to call the provider. It's too late at night. I say this, call the daggone provider. You paying them. They didn't pay you. You are paying them. And also it's a sense of being able to have comfort in your mind that you are okay. Your baby is okay. If you don't go in at that 1 o'clock, if you don't go in at that 11 p.m. at night, if you don't go in at midnight or at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, you will not sleep the whole night. You're going to be worried about your baby, worried about yourself. Meantime, as I say to women, what's the worst that'll happen? If it's a concern about the baby, we'll put you on the monitor. We see that everything's good. We can send you home. If there's a problem, then we address it. But at least you know what's going on, instead of wondering or then worrying and then being fearful and then. So thank you so much for emphasizing that, and really, having those that you teach to say, go on in. As I say, you are the person paying the bill. They did not pay you to come in.
That's right.
When's the last time a physician paid you to come for your prenatal appointment? They're paying you. They charge you money if you're late. Okay. And then make you wait for a long time.
Well, I think, one thing we do teach in our training, that when you're pregnant, you're not ill, you're not sick. We call you
exactly,
because the doctors took over years ago and made that term. Pregnancy is normal. Most people, Carolyn, that at least 85% of pregnancy are problem free. I think it's even higher. I'm being on the low end. So, most likely you're fine. But one thing about our doulas too, and many doulas, other programs as well, you call your doula and say, I'm going in, and she meets you. Because we know, especially if you're by yourself, you should not be going alone for a prenatal visit. That's scary, and that's understandable. At least they can meet you there, You can
Yes.
agree, maybe they'll come by and pick you up. There's all kind of arrangements. So you're not, when you arrive, you're not by yourself, you know?
Exactly.
So,
That's really key. And
yes,
I know, like, when I was working, had teenagers, I would make sure I was at that hospital before they even got there. That,
right. That's
you would have the conversation on the phone with your midwife, and then from there, decisions made about what needs to happen. I would zoom over there, run through them red lights,
that's
and get there to
right.
make sure that I was there before they even hit the door, so that I was the first face they saw.
Right.
And if you are at home, if you have your baby at home, well, gee, you're at home, you're in your own space.
Right.
So that level of anxiety is gone, for a new environment, new this, that, and the other. And if you go to a birth center, it's not your space, but it's not all of the intensity that a medical hospital brings. And so I've been suggesting to women, once you understand your risk factors, then you can start to, and also not your risk factors, but understand all of these safe options. These
Right.
options are safe.
Right.
And when we're talking the term granny midwife, a lot of people still may have in their mind, oh, these women, the idea of granny midwife is a sense of women not being educated. Excuse me, that was not the case. And even now, they are known as direct entry midwives. These women are spending 3 years in school. So just needing to be very clear, as I say, you make sure with any provider, you do your homework, you interview, you make sure you can jive with them, in terms of, just attitude and how people talk to you. Even I had a physician on who wrote a book called Managing Your Doctor. He's a doctor himself. And he said, what's it like when you go for the visit? Did they make you feel comfortable or not? If they're not, they're not for you. So Shafia, how old or what kind of background do I need to be able to be a doula?
I just want to say two things. The direct entry midwife is now called CPM, Certified Professional Midwife. They take a test to be approved. And then in terms of Erica, I want to say I did not recruit her. I invited her and she graciously accepted. So
okay. Yes.
That language, have to fix that. And
thank you.
How old to be a doula? I have trained as young as 16 years old. So
wow.
I think that teenagers are great doulas for their peers. Some teens want their and that's what, being a doula, again, it's not a new profession. If you think about in this audience, a lot of people say I became a midwife, I became a doula. I was always going to my friends' births. I was always helping my grandma do her hair. You just have that kind of thing of being a caretaker. So 16 is the youngest. If someone was 13, 14, wanted to do it and they were mature and their parent gave them permission, I would train them, because this is something we all should know. We all should know about how to know that we're pregnant. We should definitely know that. And how to deal with the normal discomfort. We should know about that. We should know everything about our bodies. And that's what I was going to say earlier, that when we take the training, it changes how they take care of themselves. They walk more, they drink more water, they advocate for themselves more. So any age, I would love to do a grandma's training. That's my next thing, you all. I think anyone who's 65 and up or 50 up, but I think grandmas are key, and they don't know how to help. They're not sure what to do, and they want to help, but it's like, well, breastfeed now, she's doing this, she's doing that. I'm not familiar with that. But, and the thing too, even with being a doula, we want your grandma to know and your family to know, sister, because the doula doesn't live with you. She's there for maybe 6 weeks, even if it's 6 months. She's not the same as with your mom living with you or your best friend who can give you continuous care. We look at the African culture or the Swedish culture where this person's getting consistent care. The government pays for that. And for the African tradition, it's built in. There's no way everyone comes over. It's amazing. Everyone comes over. Everyone's cooking. It's like a year. You get a year here in that culture. They don't talk about it. It's normal. It's not the third trimester. It's just normal. Someone had a baby. You take care of them. There's no name for it. We have to name everything. But they definitely give amazing care. And there's a better outcome. People feel more happy about their birth because there's so much help. Having a baby is a community celebration. You need to be celebrated. You brought life into the world. You carried somebody for almost 10 months. You deserve all the love, rubs, food, celebration that you can get. And that's what the doula brings. She reminds you how important you are, how special, and how you have a right to be respected, to be cared for, so that you can nurture your baby and watch your child become a wonderful universal citizen. And that's the whole goal, for us to raise our children and see them go into the world and make the world a better place.
Yes. And one last question before we end. I know that in some states, it's beginning to be where they're realizing the value of the doula.
Right.
And so some states may cover the cost of the doula, some may not. I
Right.
also did a show related to finances and pregnancy, to be ready for things that you didn't anticipate. And sometimes to get the care that you want, you do need to pay for it, and sometimes get reimbursed later. But
Right.
what is the average cost for a doula? Do you have some general idea you can offer?
Yes, anywhere from $800 to $3,000.
Okay.
It
Okay.
depends. California's on the high end. Um, Oregon is running at 1,500 to 2,000. It's jumped up a lot. You know, years
Yes.
ago, 200,
Yes.
but now it's a big commitment. You have something for 9 months. You should get your
Yes.
doula, by the way, as soon as you know you're pregnant. You shouldn't wait to the last trimester. You know, get
Yes.
your doula right away. Get that birth plan. Get to know each other so you can begin now being healthy. People say, "I wish I had known later." So there is a cost. You say a good thing, Carolyn. We have to invest in ourselves. It's our life. It's our body. It's our experience, and there's
And it's
ways
our
to pay
baby.
for it. Sorry,
It's our baby. It's our baby too.
it's our
It's
baby. So we
yeah.
want the
Mhm.
good health for both you all. It's both
Yeah.
people need the support.
Yes.
So yes, up to 5,000, but you can interview. There's a lot of now if you're on Medicaid, a Medicaid insured mother or client, then each state's different. If you are pregnant and you have Medicaid for your insurance, it's up to $1,500, maybe 18. Medicaid will pay for that. There are
Yes.
programs where there's a lot of they put in $4.5 million last year for doulas. So a lot of Healthy Start have programs and others that they're offering free services for
Yes.
pregnant
Yes.
moms. And then you have your private industry where, you know, people just they're able to pay just like home birth, $5,000, $3,000 out of pocket, and they don't blink an eye. So it's
Yes.
also all those options are available.
Well, Shafia, I want to say thank you so much. We might need to ask you to come back again, but you've given us some really important information for this segment. And I hope with this segment, it will invite people to go back to some other segments that we've done earlier.
Right.
I also want to say that I have done a free ebook on understanding the reasons why women of color, particularly Black women, are dying in the United States. And I will put that into the description as well. And I would say to those who are watching this, that if you have liked this, that you would click like and that you would subscribe to my channel. We will continue to have interesting content. My goal is to really work with families to help them to understand themselves, to understand the healthcare system, and to be actively involved with definitive, decisive decision making. So, Shafia, thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and I know our audience has done so as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the good work, Carol. It's been a pleasure. And I'll talk to you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.